Okay, yeah, I know, I'm putting the other guy in the thumbnail and the title just to get some feathers ruffled. I'll admit I'm stirring the pot a little bit, but that's kind of how I am. Normally, I like to get controversy started by bringing up topics that aren't really too talked about and then putting them into the mainstream and shining a huge spotlight on them. I know, I kinda disturbed the crap a little bit, but either way, it is relevant in this conversation. You know how earlier in the season we talked about the Seattle Kraken and their 4th overall pick, Shane Wright from last year, and how this was such a really just intricately crafted and smart plan to have him in the NHL, give him his cup of coffee, give him another cup of coffee at the World Juniors, win himself a gold medal, and give him some time in the AHL too, wherein that normally wouldn't be the case, all while not burning off the first year of his ELC. We had made multiple videos talking about Shane Wright and the plan. We talked earlier on in the year about how it was weird that he was getting scratched for multiple games in a row, how even though this seemed to be the case on the surface, the Wright family, after getting interviewed, said multiple things like, yeah, we're on board with this, we know what they're doing, we just gotta trust in them. And ultimately, the Kraken found themselves the sweet spot, giving Wright all the opportunities in the NHL, in the AHL, at the World Juniors, sending him back to the OHL, and seeing him actually get traded in the process in the OHL. All this for the benefit of Shane Wright and his development this season, because you would have many people go out there and say that Wright might not have been fully ready to play NHL hockey at an 82-game pace just yet. Either way, though, you don't burn off the first year of that ELC, so whatever happens, happens, it's fine. But when Shane Wright returned to the OHL, you had yourselves a huge blockbuster move done with this player. He got sent over from the Kingston Frontenacs, who kind of over-relied on Shane Wright to the point that it was sort of hampering his development, to the Windsor Spitfires in exchange for Ethan Medema, Gavin McCarthy, a 2nd-round pick in 2023, a 3rd-round pick in 2023, a 4th-rounder in 2024, a 6th-rounder in 2024, a 4th-rounder in 2025, a conditional 5th in 2024, and a conditional 6th in 2025. There also was a conditional 14th-round pick that Wright was sent alongside of to Windsor. Huge trade, big money moves, and Shane Wright, of course, being the talent that he was, going over to a Windsor team that was stacked enough to be the first seed in their division for the OHL playoffs, was seen as a pretty balls-to-the-wall type of move. There was a lot of BDE with what the Windsor Spitfires were trying to do. It's just, things didn't really go all too well. You see, Shane Wright had pretty good numbers in the OHL after returning from his AHL and NHL stints. 37 points, 20 games played, almost 2 points a game, not to mention the fact that he had all the success with the Canadian World Junior team and everything there. There really was a good profile for Wright, based off of what he had learned and how he had developed in the OHL this year. But the Kingston Frontenacs had themselves a first-round matchup against the Kitchener Rangers in the playoffs, and yesterday, they got swept. It's the first time in OHL history that a number 8 seed has swept the first-round team. And quite understandably, there is one fan base in particular that's going out there and talking the talk and maybe not walking the walk. You know, a lot of fans of this team like to bark, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It's just kind of what happens. We have Montreal Canadiens fans going out there and talking the talk about Shane Wright and how he was the big fish acquisition made by Windsor only to get swept in the first round. Wright had 3 points in 4 games played against the Kitchener Rangers, and if you take a look at the game scores, I mean, wasn't really all too great either. Kitchener ended up winning their games 5-3, 4-0, 6-3, and 5-1. So, really not great. But Canadiens fans are going out there and talking not only about this series because Shane Wright, the guy that they passed on, is eliminated, but because there was a player on Kitchener that is a Montreal prospect, fellow first-rounder of the 2022 NHL Draft, Filip Mesar. Now, unfortunately for Mesar, he did not score as much as Wright did. In 4 games played, he only had 1 goal. But Mesar was indeed a very solid pickup by the Canadiens at the 26th overall spot, fellow Slovak player alongside of Juraj Slafkovsky in the first round, and just seeing him be able to advance as an 8th seed, as literally the first team to ever do that in OHL history. It's pretty good. And obviously, I'm not going to go out there and say that Mesar is better than Wright or whatever. It's just kind of a funny thing to bring up that Mesar advanced and Wright didn't, especially considering the circumstances of fan base in the NHL and rounds and seeding and everything. But there are some other tweets that I wanted to go out there and read, just kind of highlighting the bananas-ness of all of this. A lot of these tweets popped up on my timeline, and I just kind of want to get a, let's just say, taste test as to how hockey fans are responding to this series. World Hockey Report said this: Shane Wright got traded for 2 players, a second, third, 2 fourths, a conditional 5th, and 2 conditional 6th to Windsor. They just got swept in the first round by the 8th seed. Scott Wheeler said Shane Wright and the number 1 seeded Windsor Spitfires have been swept in the first round, so unfortunate wording there, Scott. Then you had yourselves this tweet that kind of went out there and ruffled some feathers. The Habitant said Windsor is 1 period away from getting swept by Mesar and the Rangers. I've seen absolutely nothing from Shane Wright this whole series. Almost invisible when it matters most. Same as last year in the playoffs. Hate my takes all you want, this is an objective fact. And of course, you had Seattle Kraken fans biting back and defending their guy. You had yourselves another conversation here too. Karina asks, it could be possible that he's still dealing with an injury. I think he missed out a lot of games in the regular season, and it can play a factor. The Habitant replies saying he doesn't look that way. He still has 13 shots across 3 games in 2 periods, has looked as per usual in the faceoff circle and his overall game. He just isn't clutch or very assertive in important games. It was the same last playoffs as well. Now, okay, I see what they're trying to say here, and I definitely do think that under the circumstances of the OHL playoffs, you could very well say that Wright's performance was underwhelming. But to say that he doesn't have any X factor and no clutch, I don't agree with that because, I mean, if the World Juniors taught us anything, the guy knows how to play in big moments, and multiple years in a row with the 2 back-to-back golds plus the most recent one where he scored the backhander crazy over-the-shoulder goal in the gold medal game, I feel like there is a lot of clutchness in Wright's game. It's just, I don't know, Kitchener bested him out. What can I say? And so, heading into the next few weeks, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Wright and the Seattle Kraken. Because he is eliminated, his OHL season is now over. I wonder what the Kraken are going to decide to do. AHL, NHL, the Kraken clinched themselves a playoff spot, so they did very well this season without Shane Wright and his services at the National Hockey League level, but you know, the NHL is not a developmental league, especially when you're in the postseason. It's not really the opportunity to give your young guys the chance to shine. It's like, okay, we need to win. So we have to ice a lineup that is going to give us the highest chance to do that. And so if Shane Wright at this moment in time is good enough to play better, more skilled, more advanced, and more productively than any of the 12 guys that are suiting up for the forward core of the Kraken right now, then be my guest. But we'll see whether or not that happens as the playoff starts. But let me know in the comments either way all your opinions about Shane Wright and the Windsor Spitfires getting swept in round 1 by Filip Mesar and the Rangers. I know a lot of Canadiens fans are getting snarky about this, but there's no real reason to do that. Come on. But, you know, I can't really go out there and control whatever it is that people like to trash talk in regards to hockey takes, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Shane Wright. If you did end up watching the series, then hey, I'm interested in seeing your points of views. I, unfortunately, was not really able to catch too much of the games. I saw some of the highlights pop up on Twitter, but that was about it. But thoughts in the comments either way. Shane Wright, Windsor, the sweep, Kitchener, Filip Mesar, the Canadiens, Seattle, what do you do next with Wright? I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 99. And bye.